Why Buddhist philosophy still matters in the modern world. We are living in an age unlike any other, a world filled with light, sound, connection, and speed. Everything moves so fast that sometimes we no longer know where we're heading, or even why we're living this way. We wake up with our phones, rush into work, race against time, and when night falls, we lie awake wondering, what does all of this really mean? That timeless question, the question of meaning, is the very one the Buddha asked more than 2,500 years ago. And perhaps, never before in human history has that question felt as urgent as it does today. We live amid an explosion of information, yet we hunger for understanding. We possess countless comforts, yet we lack peace. We connect with thousands online, yet we feel deeply lonely within ourselves. While the world outside keeps changing at lightning speed, the world within us still carries the same burdens: fear, anger, craving, and emptiness. And it is precisely here, in the chaos of the modern mind, that Buddhist philosophy arises like a gentle but profound reminder. Return to yourself and truly look within. Buddhism is not a religion demanding blind faith. It is a path of understanding the mind, a way to see clearly the nature of suffering and rediscover the clarity already present in each of us. When the Buddha spoke of dukkha, suffering, he wasn't only referring to physical pain. He meant the subtle unease of the heart, the emptiness modern people try to fill with work, possessions, and social media. When he taught impermanence, he reminded us that everything we cling to will inevitably change, and that our resistance to this truth is the root of our suffering. When he spoke of mindfulness, it wasn't an abstract philosophy but an art of living, the ability to be truly present amid the noise and movement of everyday life. Buddhism doesn't ask us to withdraw from the world, it teaches us how to live fully within it, without being swept away. Amid work, pressure, and emotional storms, we can still find a quiet space within, a place of stillness, where peace naturally blooms. Buddhist philosophy transcends time because it is not about belief, it is about experience. The Buddha never asked anyone to believe in him, he simply said, "Come and see for yourself." Everything begins with observation. Observing the body, observing the mind, observing feelings, without judgment, without attachment. And through that observation, a simple truth begins to emerge. The mind is both the source of suffering and the gateway to freedom. We suffer not because the world is cruel, but because we don't yet understand how to live within it. We feel restless not because we lack anything, but because we haven't realized that everything we seek is already within us. That is why, even after more than 2 millennia, the Buddha's teachings remain profoundly relevant. Amid the rush of the 21st century, technology, pressure, endless competition, this ancient wisdom still shines as a beacon for hearts that have lost their way. Today, when the world speaks of mental health, meditation, or mindfulness, we are, in truth, rediscovering what the Buddha saw long ago. Modern science now confirms what meditation has offered for centuries. It reduces stress, anxiety, and depression. It enhances concentration and compassion. It deepens our sense of connection with ourselves and the world. But beyond these practical benefits, meditation and Buddhist philosophy invite us to redefine happiness itself. Happiness is no longer about having more, but about letting go of grasping, anger, and illusion. It's not about seeking outside, but about awakening within. In the light of Buddhism, happiness is not something to attain, it is the natural state of a mind resting in the present moment. And the wonder is, anyone can touch it, regardless of status, belief, or circumstance. Amid the city noise, the pressure of work, and worries about the future, there is a quiet space that always exists within each of us. Buddhist philosophy helps us return to that space, reminding us that peace is not about escaping the world, it is about learning to be free within it. Compassion is not weakness, it is strength born from understanding. Enlightenment is not a distant destination, it is awakening in every breath. And when we begin to live this way, when we pause to truly listen, observe, and understand, we realize that life has never lost its meaning. We have simply forgotten how to see it. In this video, we will explore the timeless wisdom of the Buddha, and how it can transform the way we think, feel, and live in the 21st century. Not as a religion, but as a mirror reflecting the modern human soul. Because Buddhist philosophy, by its very nature, does not belong to the past. It is alive in every moment, in each breath, in every awareness, and in the compassion we bring into the world. And perhaps, when we begin to live with that clarity, we will finally realize happiness has never been far away. It has always been right here, in this very moment, within our own heart. Everything around us changes, yet freedom lies within that change. Everything around us changes, emotions, people, work, even this very body. And yet, most of the time, we live in fear of losing. We try to hold on to youth, success, love, as if clinging tightly enough could make them stay forever. But everything passes, that is the natural law. Buddhism does not teach this to make us sad, but to help us be free. When we truly see impermanence, we no longer fear change. We learn to love each moment fully, knowing that nothing lasts forever. A flower is beautiful because it will fade. A sunset is precious because it only comes once. And every breath we take is a gift that will never return. When we stop fighting against the flow of life, we discover a natural peace, a state that does not depend on whether things stay or disappear. All our lives, we struggle to protect what we call the self. I am right, I am wrong, I am good, I am bad. But when we look deeply, we realize that this I is just a temporary combination of body, feelings, thoughts, and memories, constantly changing, never fixed. Understanding this does not make us lost, it sets us free from the burden of ego. When we are no longer bound by the image of who we think we are, we no longer need to be better than anyone, no longer need to always be right, no longer need to prove our worth. We simply are, part of the vast stream of life, where all beings are interdependent and connected. From this realization, compassion naturally arises. Because we see clearly, there is no longer me and others, there is only us, coexisting in the same web of life. The Buddha did not teach us to escape the world, but to awaken within it. Freedom is not about leaving everything behind, but about seeing things as they truly are. Through mindfulness, we learn to observe our own mind, our emotions, thoughts, anger, and fear. They come and go like clouds across the sky. When we realize we are not those emotions, we gain space, the space to choose. Between stimulus and reaction, there is always a pause, and within that pause, wisdom is born. There, we can choose kindness instead of anger, understanding instead of judgment, presence instead of forgetfulness. And right there, freedom begins. Buddhism is not confined to scriptures or teachings, it is expressed in how we live each day. No robes are needed, no rituals required, only mindfulness, honesty, and compassion. To speak kindly, even when no one responds. To act mindfully, even when the world is chaotic. To reflect daily. Not to judge, but to understand one's own mind. And in every breath, to know, we can always begin again. When you wash the dishes in silence, that is meditation. When you listen to someone with your whole heart, that is compassion. When you forgive yourself, that is wisdom. Living this way, even the simplest moments become a path to awakening. There is no need to search elsewhere, truth is right here, within this very life. Life is a river that never stands still. Everything is born, exists for a while, and then fades away, like ripples upon the vast ocean. We come into this world with nothing, and we will leave with nothing, except for our experiences, our awareness, and the way we have lived each moment. Yet, human beings are constantly resisting this truth. We try to hold on, to grasp, to cling to what we believe is eternal, even though everything was born to change. Buddhism calls this impermanence, the first and most essential lesson of awakening. Everything, from our bodies to our emotions, from a sunny morning to an evening rain, is in constant transformation. Nothing stands still. Nothing lasts forever. And the paradox is, precisely because things change, life is beautiful. A flower blooms and withers, but we remember it because that brief moment of blossoming once made us smile. A sunset fades, but its golden light lingers in our hearts like a gentle wound. When we resist impermanence, we suffer. When we try to hold something still, fear begins, fear of loss, fear of change, fear of the future. Fear of the truth that nothing we love can be kept forever. Yet when we truly understand that everything is impermanent, the heart opens naturally. Gratitude arises for what is here now, instead of fear for what might vanish. We learn to cherish every moment, knowing that no moment will ever return. A person who understands impermanence no longer seeks eternity outside themselves. They find peace in the simplest things, in a breath, in a cup of tea, in the fleeting laughter of a stranger. They don't need things to last forever to be happy, because they have learned to love through letting go, and to find peace amid change. From the insight of impermanence, we go deeper into another truth, non-self, the realization that there is no fixed, separate I. We grow up believing there is a solid self, I am this person, I think this way, I like that. But when we pause and look deeply, we see that the I is just a flowing stream, always shifting with circumstances, emotions, memories, and perceptions. There is no real boundary between us and the world. The breath we take in is the breath given by trees. The food we eat is made of earth, water, and sunlight. The feelings we experience are influenced by others, by memories, by countless unseen conditions. Seeing this clearly, we loosen our grip. We no longer need to be better than anyone. We no longer need to prove ourselves or protect an image of who we are. We begin to let go gently. And in that letting go, a deep freedom is born, freedom from comparison, pride, and inferiority. Freedom from the shadow of ourselves. Non-self does not make us indifferent, it makes us more compassionate. When the wall between me and others dissolves, we realize that every joy and every sorrow is shared. Another person's pain is not separate from our own, another's happiness becomes our happiness. When we see this, compassion is no longer a moral effort, it is the natural expression of an awakened heart. But to truly see impermanence and non-self, not just as ideas, we need a bridge, and that bridge is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the ability to see things as they are, without judgment, without running away, without coloring them with our desires or fears. When we are angry, we know we are angry. When we are sad, we know we are sad. When we are calm, we know we are calm. That simple knowing, without reaction, is already the beginning of awakening. The outer world may be loud and chaotic, but a mindful person can stand still amid the storm. They are not swept away by it. They see that emotions are only waves, not the ocean itself. When we stop identifying with each passing wave, we return to the vast, still ocean of our own mind. In that space, fear, anger, and sadness lose their power. We become free, free within the very flow of life. Freedom in Buddhism does not mean leaving the world behind. True freedom is living in the world without being bound by it. We can work, love, create, and face challenges, yet remain steady and clear in the midst of it all. The wise do not need to escape the world, because they have seen that the world itself is the path, the lesson, the teacher. Thus, Buddhism is not confined to temples or scriptures. It is the art of living mindfully in every small act. When you wash the Dishes, wash them with full attention. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you listen, hear not just the words, but the pain, the tenderness, the joy hidden in the voice. Each moment is an invitation to return home. Living this way, ordinary life becomes a path of practice. No robes are required, no rituals, no sacred place. Every meal, every breath, every smile can be meditation. When the mind rests in the present, even the simplest moment becomes a miracle. And then we realize a profound truth: simplicity is the deepest wisdom. We don't need to search for peace, peace is already here, only hidden beneath layers of desire and fear. We don't need to seek enlightenment, enlightenment is not a mystical state, but clear seeing in this very moment. Every spiritual path ultimately leads to this awakening, the recognition that there is nothing to hold, no one to become, nowhere to go. There is only the present, unfolding in the breath, in the song of a bird, in the soft light of dawn. When we live fully in each moment, unbound by the past or pulled by the future, we live as free beings. Freedom doesn't come from controlling life, it comes from realizing we don't need to. A peaceful mind is not one without waves, but one that knows it is the ocean. A wise person is not one who knows everything, but one who knows what to let go of. A happy person is not one who has everything, but one who is grateful for everything. Buddhism does not ask us to become someone else. It simply invites us to return to our true nature, still, luminous, compassionate, and wise. When we live this way, each day becomes a sutra, each word a stick of incense, each action an offering to life. Life will still contain suffering, but within suffering lies wisdom. Life will still bring loss, but within loss lies love. Life will still be impermanent, but within impermanence lies the timeless beauty of renewal. When we see this, fear fades. We no longer need to run or to hold on. We simply stay, awake and complete, in this very moment. That is the essence of Buddhist philosophy. To understand is to love. To see is to let go. To live is to be free. There are days when life feels like an endless whirlpool. Everything moves too fast: work, responsibility, expectation, fear. We try to keep up, to not fall behind, to prove that we are living right. Yet the faster we run, the emptier we feel. Deep inside, something remains untouched, a stillness we are afraid to face. We call it exhaustion, stress, pressure. But beneath it all lies the lost direction of the heart. Buddhism does not teach us to escape life, but to illuminate it. For it is within the noise, the rush, and the confusion that the door to awakening can open. The Buddha once said, "In the midst of the flood, the awakened one is not swept away." The world does not need to stop for us to find peace. We only need to stop within ourselves. Peace is not found in a quiet place, it is found when the mind no longer resists. When we stop wishing things were different, we begin to see them as they are. When we no longer demand life to please us, life becomes as light as a breath. Because what makes us suffer has never been the situation itself, but the way we react to it. In the modern world, we are tangled in many versions of me. The online me, the professional me, the me in others' eyes. We build an identity hoping to be seen, loved, respected. But the more we seek approval from outside, the more we lose freedom within. When we live through the eyes of others, we can no longer see ourselves. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises from greed, anger, and ignorance, the three roots of delusion. Today, we can understand them more closely. Greed is never feeling enough. Anger is rejecting what we dislike. Ignorance is forgetting the true nature of life. Every time we complain, get angry, or compare, we water those seeds, and at that moment, we drift away from ourselves. To end suffering does not mean to suppress our emotions, but to see them clearly. When anger arises, look deeply into it, not to justify, but to understand. Anger doesn't come from nowhere, it grows from wounds. From fear of being unseen, from desires unmet. When we see its roots, anger melts, like ice under sunlight. When we see the nature of suffering, understanding is born. Buddhism does not ask us to become good by moral standards. The Buddha simply said, be aware. Awareness is seeing things as they are, even the things we dislike. An awakened person can cry, can be angry, can feel disappointed, but they know these are only waves of the mind, not who they truly are. They are not swept away. When we live with mindfulness, every small act becomes sacred. Drinking a cup of water is meditation. Washing a dish is meditation. Driving, listening to music, sitting with a loved one, all can be meditation if the mind is present. Mindfulness is not a technique, but a way of being. A mindful soul doesn't try to be happy, they naturally are. Because they no longer run away or cling to anything. When we let go of the need to control, life begins to unfold on its own, just as a flower doesn't force itself to bloom, it simply opens when the sun arrives. Looking deeper, we realize there is no me and world as two separate things. We are the world, expressed in human form. When anger arises, it is not just my anger, it is the energy of humanity itself, carried through generations of fear and pain. When peace arises, that peace also belongs to all. A single mindful breath can calm an entire room. A single smile in adversity can ease many hearts. That is the silent power of mindfulness, quiet, but deeply transformative. Buddhism does not seek to change the world through pressure, but through understanding and compassion. When we understand, we no longer wish to harm. When we love, we no longer see enemies. Compassion is not pity, it is empathy born of wisdom. When we realize everyone suffers in their own way, judgment disappears. What remains is the wish to help others suffer a little less. Compassion is not only for others, it begins with ourselves. To forgive ourselves is the first step toward awakening. We cannot be mindful if we still hate who we are. Be gentle with your mistakes, they are your teachers. Each time we stumble, life gives us another chance to look deeper, to live truer. No one awakens without first being lost. We often imagine enlightenment as something grand, a sudden, radiant moment. But in truth, enlightenment is simply seeing the simple truth of life clearly. That everything is already enough. That there is nowhere to go, because right where we stand is the path. When we live this way, every day is a lesson, every person a teacher. Those who make us angry teach us patience. Those who make us sad teach us letting go. Those who make us love teach us about impermanence. Every experience, sweet or bitter, is a dharma, a chance to return home. Buddhism does not lead us to heaven, it brings us back to earth. To where we truly live, breathe, and feel. To the place where we can see the ordinary with extraordinary eyes. A soft morning light, a bird's song, a steaming cup of tea, these are enough to fill a life if we are truly present. Happiness is not in the future, it lives in the full presence of now. When we stop asking, what will I get, and begin asking, how am I living? Everything changes. Because the truth is, we cannot live in tomorrow. We can only live in this breath. When the mind rests in the present, it is no longer pulled by regret of the past or fear of the future. And in that moment, we are truly free, not the freedom to do whatever we want, but the freedom from unseen chains, craving, fear, desire, resentment. To live mindfully is not to avoid suffering, but to face it without being drowned by it. Just as a skilled swimmer does not fear the water, the mindful one does not fear life. They know suffering is a natural part of growth. Without darkness, we would never recognize light. Ultimately, Buddhist philosophy is not a belief system, it is a way of life. A way of living with understanding, with compassion, with steadiness amid all change. When we live like this, we stop searching for happiness elsewhere. Because living itself becomes happiness. And when we live this way, no matter how chaotic the world outside may be, we can still smile, for we have found our true home. The home of peace, clarity, and boundless love. There is something very strange about life. The more we strive for happiness, the more uneasy we become. The tighter we hold on, the quicker happiness slips away. The more we want things to be perfect, the more restless our mind grows. In truth, we don't need to find peace, because peace has never left us. It is only hidden beneath waves of craving, fear, and resistance. When the waves settle, the lake becomes still on its own. Our mind is the same, it doesn't need to be fixed or forced, it only needs to be seen clearly. The Buddha said, "There is no path to peace, peace itself is the path." That sentence sounds simple, but it holds the essence of awakening. Human beings always believe they must attain something to be happy. Money, fame, love, success. But the more we chase, the more we forget. Happiness is not the destination, it is the way we walk. If every step is mindful, if every word carries compassion, then whether we are in a crowded marketplace or a quiet monastery, we are already walking in peace. The world does not block our awakening. Everything that happens in the world is our practice. The person who irritates us is a teacher of patience. Loss teaches impermanence. Failure teaches release. Both joy and sorrow are doors through which we understand ourselves more deeply. When the mind is still, we begin to see that every event in life has a benevolent reason. Not to punish, but to awaken. Sometimes, late at night, we sit by the window and everything is silent. Only the wind moves through the leaves. Suddenly, we feel something subtle. A fragile yet profound presence. In that moment, we don't need to become anyone or prove anything. We simply are. That is the moment of true living. When the mind no longer runs anywhere, everything becomes luminous. Even the smallest things shine with infinite beauty. We often think enlightenment is far away, reserved for Buddhas and saints. But in truth, enlightenment can arise in a single breath, a glance, a smile. When we realize there is nothing to gain and nothing to become, we have already stepped through the first gate of freedom. Enlightenment is not a destination, it is wakefulness in this very moment. If we look deeply, we'll see that all suffering begins from one small thing: non-acceptance. We do not accept others as they are. We do not accept life as it is. We do not accept ourselves as we are right now. From that resistance, we judge, we struggle, and we suffer. But when we release our resistance, when we accept that everything is just as it is, neither right nor wrong, our inner energy shifts immediately. Acceptance is not surrender, it is understanding. With an open heart. From that understanding, right action arises naturally. Buddhism calls this action from awareness. Action not born of fear or reaction, but of understanding and compassion. When the mind is peaceful, we don't need to force ourselves to act rightly. Right action flows naturally, because the ego no longer pulls the strings. In the smallest acts, pouring tea, listening to music, cleaning, walking. If mindfulness is present, we are living as free beings. Perhaps the deepest teaching of Buddhism is this: everything is temporary, even suffering. No sadness lasts forever. No wound stays unhealed. And no joy can be held forever in our hands. When we understand this, we learn to smile even in pain. Not because we've overcome it, but because we know it will also pass. Impermanence is not something to fear. It is the guarantee of renewal. When a leaf falls, it does not disappear. It becomes the soil that nourishes new buds. So too with our lives. Our losses and sorrows silently nurture deeper understanding. Without winter, we could never appreciate spring. Without suffering, we could not recognize peace. Impermanence, therefore, is not our enemy. It is our most gentle teacher. Many people spend their lives searching for a purpose. But Buddhism simply smiles and says, you need not search, just awaken to the life you're already living. When we do something wholeheartedly, no matter how small, it becomes sacred. There is no ordinary task, only a mind that is absent. A person carrying water mindfully can awaken in each step. A person sitting on a throne without mindfulness still lives in delusion. The difference lies only in whether the mind is present or not. Mindfulness does not mean being happy all the time, it means being real. Daring to look directly at ourselves without running away or pretending. When we see our inner shadows, selfishness, fear, anger. Not to judge, but to understand. Then light begins to enter. From understanding comes transformation. We don't need to destroy the ego, we only need to recognize it with kindness. When it is seen, it dissolves on its own. That is the miracle of awareness. Transformation through the light of seeing, not through force. When a lamp is brought into a dark room, darkness doesn't need to be chased away, it simply disappears. Buddhism doesn't teach us to become someone else, but to return to our own pure nature. Beneath all thoughts, emotions, and wounds lies a still space. Untouched. Unbreakable, ever clear. That is our true mind. When we touch that space, we are no longer shaken by praise or blame, gain or loss. We become calm in the midst of life's storms. Not out of coldness, but out of understanding. When the mind is peaceful, we begin to see the world with new eyes. There is no one left to hate, nothing left to fight. We begin to see light in everyone. Those who hurt us are also suffering. Those we love are lost in their own ways. Seeing this, compassion ceases to be an ideal, it becomes a natural response of an awakened heart. Compassion does not make us weak, it is the power of understanding. A compassionate heart can embrace the whole world. For it no longer divides. It knows that all beings share the same cycles of birth and death. Joy and sorrow, rise and fall. It knows that everything is finding its way back to balance. And so, we live more gently, more kindly, more truly. Perhaps that is what Buddhist philosophy ultimately teaches. We do not need to change the world, we only need to awaken within ourselves. When one person changes, the whole world changes. For the world is nothing but a reflection of the mind. If peace exists within us, then even in the heart of the storm, we can still hear the silence. The deep, unshakable stillness of the awakened heart, perhaps true happiness has never been found in grand things. It rests quietly in the way we see, the way we listen, and the way we live with each breath. When we stop searching for something else, the mind naturally settles in the present moment. Then, even silence becomes deeply meaningful. Life does not need to be perfect for us to feel at peace. Peace does not come from avoiding suffering, but from the ability to embrace it with understanding and love. When we learn to see things as they are, without resistance, without judgment, we begin to enter the realm of inner freedom. Perhaps in this life, we will still hurt, still cry, still lose our way at times. But if we can keep a little mindfulness, a little compassion, a little gratitude, then even within our wounds, we can still smile gently. Because we know everything will pass, and with each passing, we grow deeper, softer, truer. That is the essence of Buddhist wisdom. Not to become perfect, but to become real. Not to reach some distant place, but to realize we have always been home, in this very moment. When we understand this, we no longer need to seek peace. Because peace is already here. In every step, every breath, every compassionate gaze. Enlightenment is not somewhere far away. It lives in the way we treat ourselves and this world, right now. If you are hearing these words, please pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. And feel life flowing through you. That is the simplest miracle of all, presence. And if you feel even a hint of peace, a glimmer of clarity, or a touch of understanding from this video, leave me a sincere comment below. Share what you are feeling, what moved you, or what you wish to let go of after listening. Because perhaps, your sharing will be the light for someone who has lost their way. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Thank you for listening with your whole heart. May you, and all of us, live mindfully, live freely, and live with a heart full of compassion.